it's very difficult to distinguish between pleasure and the staleness or the difficulties it brings in, because one wants to keep the pleasure afresh and not have the staleness or the problems it brings. I mean, the normal human being.
No, we said no.
I'm asking you, what is your attitude to pleasure?
What do you mean by attitude?
How does one deal with this immense problem of pleasure in which most people are caught? Because that is the past. If you say...
So, pleasure is always the past.
Yes. But
there is no... Wait a minute. There is no pleasure at the moment it is happening.
No.
It comes in later when it's remembered. So, that the remembrance is the past. And I said, I, as a human being, am willing to face nothingness, which means wipe out all that.
How does one wipe out this tremendous instinct for pleasure? It almost seems to be an instinct.
No, I went into it. We went into that, which is, what is the nature of pleasure? What is pleasure? It's a constant remembrance of
and
things of the thing past which have happened. Right?
Well, and also the expectation of those that will happen.
Of course. Always from the past.
They usually made this distinction of pleasure and enjoyment.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Of course, you have made a distinction,
Yeah.
but I'm saying still the human being, even though he understands what you're saying, is sort of held back in this field.
No, because Narayan, because he is not willing to face this emptiness. Pleasure is not compassion.
No.
Pleasure is not love.
No.
But perhaps if there is this mutation, compassion is stronger than pleasure. I don't know if
Yes.
So pleasure has no place in the compassion.
Or even just simply order is stronger than... the perception of order may be stronger than pleasure. Even when people are really concerned about something they're doing with order, either the artist or the scientist, the pleasure plays no role at that moment.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to imply, because this must have a certain strength which can keep that in its...
Compassion has got tremendous strength.
Yes.
Incalculable strength. Pleasure is nowhere in it.
But what happens to a man in whom...
pleasure is dominant?
Yes.
We said that. As long as he is unwilling to face this extraordinary emptiness, he'll keep on with the old pattern.
Wouldn't we have to say that this man had a damaged brain too? There was a
Yes,
certain
probably.
brain damage which causes this emphasis on sustained pleasure, as well as the fear and the anger and the hate.
But the damaged brain is healed when there is insight.
Yes. But I think many people would say, I understand that hate and anger and so on are products of the damaged brain, but they would find it hard to say pleasure is the product of the damaged brain.
Oh yes, because pleasure, of course it is.
Whereas if you say there's a true enjoyment which is not the product of the damaged brain, which is confused with pleasure.
That is the difficulty, yes.
Yeah.
Because if pleasure gives rise to anger, anger is part of the damaged brain, but
and also the demand for pleasure,
yes.
Which may give rise to anger and hatred and
of course,
frustration,
fear. If I can't have the pleasure I want, I'm beginning to get annoyed. I feel frustrated. All the rest of it follows. So am I, or you as a human being, see the import, or have an insight into the past how very destructive it is, right, to the brain, and the brain itself sees, and has an insight into it and moves out of that.